Problematic freestyle arm recoveries can be a real challenge to improve. And more often than not, simply telling your swimmers to recover the arms more effectively isn't going to get the job done. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. While poor arm recoveries aren't much fun to look at, they're certainly not going to help swimmers go fast. As I'm sure you know, simply telling them what to do typically doesn't work. A coach was recently struggling with this problem, and they asked me how I go about typically trying to solve it. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Before we get into the solutions, let's take a brief look at why arm recoveries are so important. To sum it up, if the arm recoveries are a disaster, the stroke is almost always going to be a disaster as well. While there's some truth to the saying that what happens under the water is what matters most, unfortunately, bad recoveries can have an impact on what happens under the water. If the arms are swinging side to side or they're crashing into the water, swimmers aren't going to be nearly as effective at creating propulsion. They're not going to be in the right position, and if they don't start in the right position, they're never going to get into the right positions. So if the recoveries are impacting the pull, swimmers are going to be in trouble. Worse still, if the arms are swinging side to side, the body's going to be swinging side to side. That means worse alignment and slower swimming. And simply telling swimmers to stay tight or lock in the core isn't going to get the job done. The torque from those arm recoveries is going to pull the swimmer out of position no matter what they try to do. And finally, if the arm recoveries are really low and wide, they're going to create a lot of fatigue in the swimmer's shoulders. They take more time, they're harder to execute, and that all adds up to slower swimming. So if the arm recoveries are a problem, it's definitely going to be a problem. So now let's talk about what to do. Telling your swimmers to recover the arms differently typically doesn't work. The arm recovery is a ballistic movement, and trying to control it usually doesn't have much impact. And arm recoveries often require subtle changes too, and words aren't particularly effective for communicating that subtlety. And the expectation is that swimmers are going to think about that perfect arm recovery over and over and over again, which is probably not going to happen. So rather than telling swimmers what to do and how to execute a perfect arm recovery, there are two strategies I typically use. The first is to take the arm recoveries away, and the second is to let them explore a wide range of arm recoveries. Let's take a look at both approaches. I like to take away the arm recoveries by using underwater recovery. It's simply freestyle, but swimmers recover the arms under the water as opposed to over the water. That might seem like a counterintuitive approach, but I've found that it works. Here's why. Most recovery issues are related to poor rotation and poor timing. The shoulder needs to rotate up so the arm can recover over the water, and if it doesn't, swimmers are really going to struggle to get the arm over the surface. Underwater recovery is really effective for helping swimmers understand how to rotate and how to rotate at the right time. It's also really useful for helping swimmers learn to recover the arms straight forward without any of that lateral motion and then just pulling straight back. So it's that forward and back motion, which is what we really want. So they can feel really direct arm recoveries, and the improved rotation is going to make it more likely that they'll actually be able to do it when they recover the arms over the water. Then you can start to introduce over-under freestyle, which is when they recover one arm over the water and then one arm under the water. It's a perfect bridge to regular freestyle, and then you can start to incorporate regular freestyle as well. I use all three, underwater recovery, over-under freestyle, and regular freestyle, all at the same time, and I have swimmers do them in lots of different ways, so they get a lot of different exposure. They start to really figure out how to do it at different stroke counts, at different speeds, with different training aids, and that way they can really start to master it, and that makes the transition to regular freestyle a lot more effective. Give them lots of different exposures to different options, and they're going to figure it out. They'll learn how to be direct with the recoveries, and they'll learn how to get the rotation timing down. And in most cases, problems with arm recoveries come down to not being direct and not having effective rotation timing. The other strategy, which complements the first one, and I typically use both of them, is to have swimmers use a range of arm recoveries. You can have swimmers recover with completely straight arms, with completely bent arms, with arms that are in the shape of a hook. You can have them swim the arm recoveries low, you can have them swim the arm recoveries high, and you can use different combinations of these arm recoveries. So you can have a really low straight arm or any other combination that you can think of. You can also have swimmers do different arm recoveries at the same time. So perhaps one arm is bent and one arm is straight. What you're trying to do is show them all the different options that they have. You're not trying to practice the perfect option, you're letting them explore all the options. This is how we learn movements most effectively. We see what's available and we pick what option is going to work best. While this isn't necessarily a conscious process, it's an extremely effective one. Variation is key to learning, and so you want to vary the arm recoveries as much as possible in as many different ways as possible. So for instance, if you're doing 10 100s freestyle during an aerobic set, you could have them do the first 25 with a random arm recovery. You just tell them whatever it is before that 100, and then the rest of the 75, they just swim with a regular arm recovery. Or you could have them do a bunch of 50s with different arm recoveries or a bunch of 25s that are fast with different arm recoveries. If you want change, you need to provide swimmers with a pretty powerful and a pretty strong stimulus. And by using a lot of different arm recoveries, that's exactly what you're going to get. Over time, they're going to figure out what's most effective for them. You want to help them feel something very different from what they're used to, and you want to exaggerate that. And by getting exposed to those different variations, it's going to help swimmers learn. Rather than trying to get it just right, show them a lot of options and let them figure out a better path. So if your swimmers are struggling with their arm recoveries, take two very different approaches. In the first case, take away the arm recoveries, and in the second, have them explore a wide range of different recoveries. In both cases, you want a lot of variation, a lot of variety, and that's going to help them discover a more effective arm recovery, which is ultimately going to allow them to swim faster. It's a straightforward approach, and it's easy to integrate into any training program. Hope that was helpful, and as always, keep it simple.